They had to walk 19 kilometers to get the nearest source of clean water.
Meet Charlie Uldhahl Christensen, a man on a mission to bring fresh water to remote villages in Africa. That set him on a 15,000 kilometer walk from Denmark to Tanzania.
The idea of what I'm doing is not just the money it provides, it's also, I hope that I've maybe inspired people who are brighter than myself to go and spend their life doing an impact or combining passion and purpose, what walking for water really is about.
By making this challenging walk for water, carrying with him just a trolley that contains his survival gear, Charlie started getting the attention needed to solve this basic need for the villages in Africa.
People are interested in looking at that strange guy, that strange white guy who walks around with a trolley. What's wrong with him? We need to meet him.
This attention turned into funds that helped him build more than 85 boreholes, delivering fresh water to more than 50,000 people.
Drilling a borehole, bringing water to people, raising the lower barrier is something that has a huge impact. From that system, we have given basic access to water to about 54,000 people.
And if you wonder,
you are never too small to raise your voice and activate others. There is nobody you cannot write. There is no organization you are too small to contact. And they maybe have larger financial muscles or larger network or whatever to activate things that you have seen, that you have spotted.
Charlie's journey from Denmark to Tanzania was filled with unexpected lessons or moments of scare, like being thrown in prison in Nigeria.
Who is this guy who has fake visa and long beard and look strange and have strange stories? So they just took everything beside the clothes I was wearing and they threw me in a cell.
Charlie, welcome to the Authority in the Wild podcast.
Thank you.
Man, I'm so honored to be with you today. Not only because you're in such an important mission around the world, but most importantly because I know that you change lives with this mission. Tell us, who are you?
Who am I? Oh, that's always a hard question to answer, I think, myself. But my name is Charlie. I'm 36 by now. I come from Denmark. And now I just moved to Bali a month ago with my girlfriend. So this is a brand new adventure for me. It's my first time in Asia. The past decade, I've mainly been in Africa. I've been on this mission, a philanthropic pilgrimage is what I call it, where I've been hiking on my 2 feet from Denmark to the Democratic Republic of Congo. And this mission is called Walking for Water. So basically I'm raising funds to build boreholes, public boreholes in African remote villages. And when I started this mission back in 2015, I expected it all to be over within 2.5 years. And here we are 10 years later and I still haven't reached my final goal. So my story is a story about how things can drag out and plans can change, but the mission remains the same, yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Because we need to adapt as we go. And I would like to ask you, what inspired this movement? What moment in your life set you on this pilgrimage about such an important cause?
Yeah, it was because when I was a young man, medium young, I was already, I think, 25 at the time. I had been a soldier, I had been a sailor, and I was sitting on the deck of a ship and starting to wonder, is there more in life than this, than just going out on these personal adventures, earning money for myself, going home, getting drunk, going out, spending money, you know. I wanted to, I guess, contribute with more to somehow make the world a little bit better, give more than I take. But I didn't know how to do that because I didn't have any academic background, I didn't have any, health scientific background like a nurse, a doctor or something like that. So at the time it was difficult for me to imagine what can I do to make the world better for others. And I started thinking about different ways, and I knew I wanted also to see the world, to go on adventure. So I decided to go to Tanzania for volunteering. I thought, okay, if I go to Tanzania, it will be an adventure. I've never been to Africa before. And on the same time, I know there are a lot of problems in Africa. So maybe if I go there, I will find my purpose. So I went to a village called Lengasti. It's, for the ones who know a bit about Tanzania, it's between Arusha and Moshi. And it's Maasai land. This is where the Maasai tribes are living with their hundreds of thousands of cows on the vast plains. And they live in a very traditional way. And out in this village, an orphanage had been built. Some children had been selected to stay on this orphanage. But the woman who had taken the initiative, she had been banned from the village. The old man had kicked her out. So now they had the infrastructure. They just needed someone to manage the place. And that's where I came into the picture. I got myself associated with a Danish council who made me aware of this project. And he said, you have to be aware that this is very remote. There is no electricity there. There is no means of transportation to town. You have to take a motorcycle for an hour and a half to some cow market. From there you can take a bus to a town, and it's quite remote. And that sounded exactly like what I was looking for. So I went down there, I was transported into the village, and for the next 6 months I stayed there to start this orphanage. And during my time there, one of the big issues we had on the orphanage was that we didn't have clean water. We had to pay money to get water delivered. So I started looking into this problem because I want to bring down the expense in the perspective of the orphanage. But I realized that this was such a huge problem for a lot of people in the village that we could at least pay to get the water delivered. But for other people, they had to walk, and they had to walk 19 kilometers to get to the nearest source of clean water. So this was really an eye-opener for me. And it was, you can say it was really I found what I came to Africa for. I found a purpose, because this was something, even though I'm not very technical, bright, or there's a lot of things.
I will say that you are bright.
Oh well, not in technical matters anyway. So I cannot invent something that can suck CO2 out of the atmosphere or whatever. But I can understand that drilling a borehole, bringing water to people, raising the lower barrier is something that has a huge impact. Because people, they don't lay around dying from thirst, but they drink dirty water from stagnant mud pits, or they have to spend the whole day walking for water. Imagine 19 kilometers one way, 19 kilometers back again. The whole day is spent when you come back. So it's time you cannot go to school or earn money or whatever. So this was really my inspiration. Seeing this problem made me start this project when I came back home to Denmark.
Yeah, I see, especially because us that are coming from developed countries, we don't see what other people are facing until we go there and face it ourselves, or seeing firsthand the problem they go through, from not having access to clean water or other facilities like we take it for granted, the fact that we have access to electricity, to water, to internet, to other things that if you maybe go on a vacation in these exotic places and we don't have internet connection for a week, we go crazy because, oh my God, I cannot post on social media or whatever, which is kind of sad, because we think of that all these things that we born as privileges, for others, the basic needs of surviving are not there. And I watch your TEDx, and you mentioned there how many kids are dying daily from not having access to clean water, which is such a basic need.
Yeah.
And personally, I see how important is this step. But for those that are not aware of this, for those that see, okay, we hear this news all day long. We heard about the fact that yes, Africa and other regions, remote regions, are facing these basic need issues, but I'm too small to make a difference. What you will say to those individuals?
Yeah, of course, I understand this feeling that you can feel very, very small in the big picture, that whatever I can do is just a drop in the ocean, so to say. But I think what I learned from this project is that you are not really too small to contact someone who are bigger than yourself. Maybe you have to rely, or you always have to rely on corporations, I will say. It's not my own money that I use to build water systems with. I have to activate other people, and we have to cooperate on the goals to reach them, really. But you are never too small to raise your voice and activate others. So that is something I learned. There is nobody you cannot write. There is no organization you are too small to contact. And they maybe have a larger financial muscles or larger network or whatever to activate the things that you have seen, that you have spotted. So if you can think out the plan, I will, and you feel too small to make a difference, then make sure that you formulate your plan very well and then send it to someone larger than yourself.
That's a good and wise advice, because at the end of the day, we are never too small to reach out to anyone. And from, as you mentioned, bigger potential partners that have the financial means to help, to others can give their time to do it. For example, I don't know, in your case, I'd like to ask you how you manage, because how many water systems did you build in Africa so far?
Well, during the time that Walking for Water was an independent organization, now we just we merged with another NGO this January 25. But before that, from 15 to 25, those 10 years, we have made 86 public boreholes across Africa. So the first mission was this single project in Tanzania, in that village where I was living, and that was quite expensive. It was they didn't have water in the underground, so it had to be brought in a very long pipeline over a hillside, and we had to have a middle pump station and stuff. I will not bore you with the details, but it was really expensive to raise the funds for this first project, and I didn't have anything to prove that what we are already doing, you know.
Yeah.
So for the first 3 years or so, I went without really having any feedback or feeling of success for the fundraising I was trying to do before we finally managed to finalize the first project. And after that, it went faster.
And to put things into perspective, those 86 boreholes, how many people got access to clean water thanks to those?
Well, it's a bit tricky to answer, because in some sense everybody have access to water. If you don't have access to water, you die in a matter of a few days, right? So everybody has access to water. It's just a matter of the degree of access. And what we are following is something called Joint Monitoring Programs definitions. That is the same that UN is following. And they say that if you can bring home clean water to your household within 30 minutes, then you have what we call basic access to water. If you have to spend more than 30 minutes to bring home clean water, so not river water or something like that, but actual water you don't get sick from drinking, if you have to spend more than 30 minutes on that, then you have limited access to water.
Okay.
So we are only focusing on communities that have limited access to water. And then we have developed a validation method where we count houses, we use local partners to check different things, to estimate how many people are living in this or that village. And we use satellite photos to make a radius around, to make sure that there are no other functional boreholes within a radius of 1.5 kilometers. That's what we estimate that it takes to go 15 minutes, 1.5 kilometers, and then back again. So that's how we measure how many people we target. And from that system, we say we have given basic access to water to about 54,000 people. Yeah,
that's impressive, because those are 54,000 lives that are positively impacted by this movement. And once you reach this goal, why do you do the fusion with another company in the first place? To expand your reach?
Actually, the reason why we fusioned with Lovespring is because we have been cooperating with them over 5 years or so. The thing is that Walking for Water, my own NGO as I started, I made some very, very strict rules of association, including that every fund donated will go directly to the water systems. So that means no salary for me or for anyone else, no administrative cost, like if we want to use a local partner to go and check out some village and we want to compensate him for fuel or whatever, that goes from my own pocket because I cannot use the money I collected on donations from that. So it has been a very pure way. For me, it was, in the beginning, it was very important that nobody could say, you do this for money. So I want everything to be completely volunteer. But I learned along the way that there is a limit to how much you can scale it if everything relies on my own volunteer work, because then I have to spend time doing other things to earn money. And it's, the workforce you have to rely on, you cannot really make demands on volunteers. It's difficult, right? If they take longer or they don't deliver up to standard, you cannot really do anything about it. So we fusioned with Lovespring because they are a semi-professional organization which allows us to scale more. And they just proved that in the big math piece, they are creating much more money than they spend. So they are way better than us at raising money, and I are much better locally integrated. So I am better at spending money, so to say. Of course, that sounds a bit like a joke. Who is not good at spending money? But in this sector, you can really overpay if you don't know what to look for. If you're not very critical to the local partners, to the ones applying. And over time, I just gathered experience. I spent so much time in villages in Africa. I know how to handle with these people. I know how to talk with them. I know I have a good bullshit detector. I know what things are supposed to cost in different countries. So I'm good at getting the right price, and I'm good at estimating the right number of people that we're actually helping. So that is our force, and it has been a good merge with Lovespring, because now I'm just focusing on that, which I'm good at, and I don't anymore have to focus on all the things that I'm not good at or interested in, like administrative stuff in the organization. Fundraising, it's out of my hands now. Other people are doing that. All the Facebook and website and government stuff, other people are taking care of that. So my time is more focused on what I'm good at.
And that's an important aspect, because when you know your strengths and you focus on those, you have bigger impact. And it's interesting because you mentioned that you don't give yourself a salary, you don't have this, so you have to put money from your own pocket and so on. And for those that don't know your background and so on, they might think, oh, Charlie's some rich dude that make a lot of money in other ways and now invest that money. Because when you think about philanthropists, that's what you think. You think, I don't know, like Mr. Beast or whatever, that are doing amazing work, but they make a fortune doing other things. How was your case? How was your situation? So I want to put this into perspective so people see how much money, for example, do you spend of this pilgrimage that you started in Denmark until Congo. Like, for context, like, how do you sleep? How do you source food? Because you walk, which is astonishing, 15,000 kilometers.
Yeah, well, of course, am I rich? That's a matter of perspective, because I'm born in Denmark. It's a big privilege. I don't have money in my pocket. I have a minus on my bank account. I'm owing the bank money, you know. And I don't owe anything. I don't have a house or a car, or I don't really. I'm a proletarian, you can say. But I have never really had a need for owning something big as well. So in that sense, I don't need much. On my travels, on this journey, I never paid to sleep. That's also another thing to the adventure of it, because often it will be so easy to just give small money to get a room to sleep in, and then you will be well rested and you will not have to spend the night looking for places and stuff. But over time it just been a streak. It was not really a rule from the beginning that I didn't want to pay to sleep, but after a year had passed and I still hadn't paid to sleep, then you don't want to break the streak. And so far I haven't broke it yet. So I actually walked all the way to Kinshasa without paying to sleep. So that means between cities, I primarily camp in the bush. When the sun go down, I find a place to go in between the trees. I go far enough so I cannot be seen from the road. And then I pitch my hammock. I have a very good hammock with mosquito net, and I have a rain fly I can pitch over it if it's rainy season. And then I just sleep in the bush until next morning. I also sometimes sleep in villages. So in Africa, everybody is very hospitable. If you go into a village, you ask for Chief Village, they will always give you somewhere to sleep. I don't want to go into the houses. Then I feel more like they expect maybe I will give them a gift or something. But I often just sleep if there is a school, or sometimes they have like a pavilion where they can sit in the shade during the day, where I can pitch my hammock. So sometimes I do that. And then in bigger cities, I use something called couch surfing. If you don't know the couch surfing app, I will definitely recommend to check it out. The concept is that you put a couch for free for travelers. So basically you can stay with local people and an expat for free like that. Often it's not just a couch, maybe they have a guest room. Other times you sleep on a mattress on the floor, or sometimes I even share the bed with my host, But it's a really good way of also getting a local host to have a network who can show you around, and you learn the culture much better by staying with someone local than if you just stay in a hotel. So that's something I used a lot. In the first years of traveling, I also used Tinder a lot to find places to sleep in cities.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's also a great way of traveling. You also really get to know a culture by dating your way through the countries. Nowadays, I have a girlfriend, so I don't do that anymore. But really recommendable too if you're a single traveler.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what fascinates me is that you went through such different backgrounds and cultures in terms of like from Europe to Africa, which can be night to day in terms of finding accommodation on couch surfing or sleeping in the bushes or in the villages. And it's such a diverse environment. Aren't you afraid, for example, like predators or snakes, scorpions? You cross Sahara desert, and I'm pretty sure you're aware of all the dangers, but how did you make sure that you're staying safe and none of these things can happen to you?
I think over time you just get adapted to a certain lifestyle, and I have been on the road for so long now without anything serious bad happening that you just get accustomed to that and feeling safe in that. If I had been robbed several times, maybe I would be more anxious, but that just haven't happened. So of course every time I maybe go into a completely new country, especially countries that I heard a lot of bad things about, like Nigeria, I had my parades up when I went in there because everybody told me, don't go to Nigeria. They are like this, they are like that, they will eat you alive. So I expected the worst, but it didn't really hit me, So after a couple of days in a new country where you're a bit extra alert and all you meet is kindness, then your parades also fall down and you just feel safe in it. And about predators, I haven't met any. I walked along the west coast of Africa. Along the coast, population is quite dense and they eat everything. So where you have many people, you don't see many animals because they simply eat them. I think maybe I will encounter that more now on the next part of my journey when I will be walking through Central Africa and in the eastern part of Africa as well.
Yeah, true, because that's less populated and more wild. I love that you break this belief because a lot of people assume that if they live in a safer environment, like a bigger city or a developed country, all these countries that are developing or third world countries are unsafe because indeed a lot of countries had bad reputation, but in reality, the percentage of people like getting robbed or unluckily worse than that, they are still minority when it comes to the amount of bad thing happening. And when it comes to your next phase of your journey, you mentioned that you want to go on the road from west to east. And for those that are not aware, the impact that such a walk can have, how do you bring attention to you, and how do you manage to raise money with this walk for water movement?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question, because how does it really combine that me walking there? How would that bring water to people, right? So initially, my idea was that if I start this walking, then I will get like a TV program, a cultural show or something where I can go around, show subcultures. A lot of people will see it on TV. It will be easy to get sponsors related and stuff.
So how this actually works out? Like, how do you grab attention, raise funds, and so on just by walking? Because for some people, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and that makes sense that it doesn't make sense for some
Exactly,
people,
yeah.
right? Because how does it really relate? Me walking, how does that turn into money to make water for? Well, it has not been as easy as I thought it would be in the beginning, to be honest. I think, to be very, very fair, if I had spent the last 10 years working on some high-earning job and donated effectively to water missions, I would probably have targeted more people, have helped more people. But the idea of what I'm doing is not just the money it provides, it's also what can I inspire. And at least that's how I defend it to myself, that I spend so much time doing this, that I hope that I've maybe inspired people who are brighter than myself to go and spend their life doing an impact, or combining passion and purpose, what Walking for Water really is about. Because that's what I'm doing. It's my passion to go on adventure, and the compassionate cause, the purpose is to bring clean water. But in the beginning, I had this idea that if I start this adventure, I will get a TV contract. I will get some sort of cultural TV program where I can show different subcultures I meet on the way, and through that it will be easy to get maybe big sponsors. Maybe I will become a big YouTuber or whatever. It just turned out to be much more difficult than I thought. I tried to contact different production companies in Denmark and other places, and well, the production companies like the idea, but they cannot sell it to TV channels who actually want to pay for it. And on YouTube, I never really broke through. I made a lot of videos in the beginning. Maybe I was not technically good at it. Maybe, I don't know, it was maybe just not interesting, not what I was showing. But the thing is that I didn't get a lot of views. I didn't get a lot of followers compared to the time I spent. So I had to make another plan because no money was coming out of it. So then I started changing my tactics to contacting companies more directly, saying that if you want to sponsor this project, we will give you material from the finished borehole with your name and your logo on a signpost and stuff like this. And I have always been good at getting into the media. So most of the countries I cross, I actually go to national television and newspapers and stuff, because people like the story. It's especially in Africa, it's a compelling story. So people like to tell it. But I have been too bad to turn it into money. That is the hard truth. So that's also why we fusioned with Lovespring, because they can deliver the money and we are better at delivering the projects. But a direct way that I'm earning money from the adventure is that when I'm home, when I went home to Denmark, I went out to make public presentations. So a company or a school, they can hire me to come and tell my adventures. I will show pictures, I will tell stories from the road, and they will pay for that. And half of the money they pay for it goes to the water organization. and that is a direct way to make money from your adventure, you can say, to actually donate half of what you earn on telling about it afterwards.
Yeah, that's a nice approach, because at the end of the day, you need to combine it somewhere. You have to live as well, because people can imagine, oh, you just travel for free, go sleeping at locals or in the bush and so on, but you cannot live just out of that. You need food, you need to buy things, you need clothes, you need to make a living somehow. And when it comes to this partnership that you have now and your next movement, I'd like to ask you, speaking of next, what's next for you here in Bali? Why are you on Bali now, and what you are trying to achieve here?
Why am I in Bali now? It's a big detour on my way to to Tanzania, that's true. So just to make it clear, the end goal of my philanthropic pilgrimage is that village in Tanzania where it all started. And so far I reached Kinshasa, which is the capital in the Democratic Republic Congo, on the west coast of Africa, and Tanzania is on the east coast of Africa. So the next route for me, the next stretch for me, is to go through DRC. And this is a route on about 2,500 kilometers through the continent to go to Burundi. After Burundi, I will go Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, and then Tanzania. But this DRC stretch, it will be the biggest challenge of them all, because in DRC, there's a lot of political unrest, and the logistics in the country is really bad. So for the first 1,000 kilometers from Kinshasa, I will have okay roads. I'm walking with a trolley, like a baby pram. So if the roads are too muddy, if it's dirt roads, when it's rainy season, they turn into a big mud pit, and the wheels will simply sink down. It's really hard to move forward. So what I normally in a day, I will walk 30 to 40 kilometers, but if it's on a muddy road, in a whole day I can fight my way through and still only put behind me like 5 kilometers. So I really have to calculate with that when walking through a big country like DRC, because maybe the last 1,500 kilometers I will just have mud roads if it's in the rainy season. So I have to plan to start walking from Kinshasa in the end of the rainy season. So for the first 1,000 kilometers there can be some rain because the roads are okay, but then in the eastern part it will be more dry. That's the logistics. Then there is the security of it. We talked a bit about predators before. I think I will have more of that now coming into the jungle, and there will be longer between villages and a higher risk of running into this kind of wildlife. But really, animals is not what I fear. This sounds crazy to you perhaps, but I feel like I have some protection of the forest. I have a good relation with the spirits in Africa. And the animals is not my concern. My concern is human beings. And in the eastern part of Congo right now, it's under rebel control. They have a civil war going on with the government, and the region that I'm going to pass through to enter Burundi, the next country, that is actually under rebel control now. So right now I cannot even go that way. I cannot get the permission I would need to go that way. And even if I could, risks are that I will be killed or kidnapped, you know. So now I'm waiting to see how that political situation will play out. And I have set the deadline for April 26. I will go back to Kinshasa to continue walking. And if this political situation is okay, I will walk through Congo as planned. If it's still not okay, I will have to walk down to Angola and then go south around DRC. But this will make the total length of my journey much longer. So yeah, and I will also really like the challenge of going through Congo, because everybody tells me, no, you cannot do that. And for me, it has been a challenge I've been looking forward to do.
And your leverage, for example, in this type of situation, do you leverage your expertise as a soldier and as a sailor to navigate yourself through, to stay safe? You take any extra security measure when it comes to protecting yourself, or?
I will say, I think that being a soldier, when I was 20 years, I was in war. I was in Afghanistan with the Danish army, and we were patrol soldiers. I don't know how many times I've been shot at. So it was quite intense. But during that time, you always have a lot of people around you. So you are never really on your own. This is quite different now because I'm always on my own. So as a soldier, you know, when I sleep, someone else is awake to watch my back. Here, I'm vulnerable when I sleep. Nobody is watching my back. So that is my biggest concern here. In the daytime, I'm never really concerned like that. Of course, you can have situations that feels unsafe, especially with police and military, to be honest. The checkpoints, they often try to intimidate you, and sometimes that can be a bit alerting, but the same as with sleeping out, you get used to it. You learn how to handle it. You learn to be calm around that. It's mostly in the night that I can feel vulnerable, but that's when it's nice to have the hammock. That's one of the main reasons I prefer hammock, because I can see 360 degrees around me. So if I was in a tent and you hear some noise, you don't really know what it is before it's right in front of you. But in the hammock, you have a much better view. And I actually also have a thermical monocular. So if I hear something in the night, I can watch and I can see any warmth shooting up. And that gives me security as well, because then I have a look around. And often so what you hear, it's just some small animal in the bush, like a grass cutter or a rat or something like this. So then I can feel safe again. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, because always intriguing, like in such a adventure that you're set up for, and especially for your next stage that seems on paper way more dangerous. I'm always curious, like how you gonna stay safe, and can't wait to hear 1 year from now if you continue the journey and move forward with it, and hopefully, finger crossed, that situation in Congo will be better, so you don't have to go through Angola and so on. And apart from this, like on this journey of yours through basically being alone for such long that yes, you encounter people on the road and so on, but just being you and your thoughts, because I guess it's not random that you call yourself the Pilgrim Philanthropist, because it has something to do with religion or something with you internally. You're in search for something, or it's just for the good human cause of this movement?
I grow a lot as a person from it. I think for me, what is really my top priority in life is to feel that I make a difference. I don't dream about having a big car or something like this. I dream about making the world as much better as possible during my time here. And as I said before, if I could choose over, I would probably have planned things in another way, because I think it would have been more effective if I didn't put so strict regulations about spending money and stuff. And also, it has dragged out so much now. This water mission has been lasting for 10 years now, and it's still going to be probably another 2-3 years before I reach my goal.
What's the goal?
Tanzania.
So to make sure that village in Tanzania has...
They have their water.
Okay.
They got their water a long time ago. But I still want to reach there physically before I can say I finished my mission, because that was the target I set for myself.
Okay.
And my biggest asset is integrity. So if I spent the last 10 years saying to people, I'm going to walk to Tanzania, and that's the one thing I don't do, then what do I really have?
So the actual outputs, because I want to understand. So you already start to bring water, fresh water to people. So your mission, it's basically happening. But if you reach Tanzania, do you think the impact of your movement will be bigger, or it's like a self-imposed goal?
I guess it's a bit of both. I think I will personally be disappointed with myself and always regret it if I give up. I will feel it was giving up, that I don't reach my goal. But I also think that telling this to other people, that I spent the last, at that point, let's just say now, I spent the last 10 years, if I gave up now and said, no, I don't want to finish my journey, the village already got their water, and plus another 85 villages have got water cost to this mission. So we have far over done what we set out to do. But that one thing of reaching that target, that geographical target, I need to walk to Tanzania, that has not been done yet. So I will feel that this is a failure, that it will be a bad trait for me to have spent 10 years of something I set out to do, and I thought will take 2.5 years, and after 10 years I just give up on it, Yeah.
Yeah, I understand now. And probably and hopefully once you reach that destination, your mission will be even bigger, your outcome from the mission will be even bigger, because you can finally say it, I made it. I made to the destination. I walked this many kilometers and I raised so much money. I built so many boreholes and so on. So that can truly indeed move a step further, the inspiration, and help others make some movements as well. Not necessarily walking for water, but using their means of financial means or influence, if you want, and so on, to bring more awareness to this. Because again, I know that I said at the beginning that we, as someone coming, you from Denmark, me from Romania, and others that are in these countries, that having the basic needs, it's such a privilege first and foremost. We just take it for granted, man. I haven't been in that situation that you described. I've seen poor people. I've been into Africa as well, in Egypt, as a tourist. But I end up in a location in which a kid was simply playing in the camel poop just to impress the tourist. I was touched and moved by that. I was like, not sure if he wants money for that or what he does. And he was having fun, but for us,
maybe that's just what it was.
Exactly. And seeing how that small tribe was living, because even that was like a tourist trap probably, and so on, just made me realize as well, I'm so privileged. I'm here just as a tourist. I heard about the fact that you should not drink water from the tap, or you shouldn't drink anything from glasses because they are washed with tap water and so on, and just use bottles of water or juice or whatever. But at that moment in time was just like, this is so different than back home. But it didn't go a step further, like you were, like actually being there in the trenches and seeing how those people face the realities of today with simply drinking water from a hole or something, instead of having access to free water, or having to walk 19 kilometers a day, which on paper people say, oh, that's not that much. But when you put that in the perspective that they have to do that daily in order to bring fresh water to the village, it's kind of changing everything.
Yeah.
Because you do that just to survive, not to live a luxurious life. And for them, it's a luxury. And that's kind of a huge difference.
Yeah, and as you say, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same walking around Africa, but use your other influences or contacts or money or whatever you have. I don't come from a place where I have a lot of money, so that was not a natural thing for me. If I had a shitload of money, I would probably just have donated a project to them and have spent my life doing something else. But I'm actually glad that it didn't went that way, because now I got this life adventure, and I think I have learned so much on this journey already, and I do think I have also inspired a lot of people, and hopefully people who are capable to do more than me. The result of bringing water to these 54,000 people so far, growing, that is not in itself that impressive, really. That could have been done in a shorter time. But what I think I have done with this journey that I could not have done if I just took a normal work and donated my money, is to give people inspiration to spend their life giving it a philanthropic purpose. And that doesn't need to necessarily be water. For me, it was water that I fell for, because I randomly came to a village where this was the big problem. And adventure, traveling, is something that I personally are passionate about, but for other people it could be other things. For you it can be making podcasts for gender equality or for climate security or whatever. For someone else who likes to play music, it can be to play free concerts and donate whatever profit there is to some other cause that they believe in. So this is what I try to inspire, this combination of passion and compassion, and how that can make you fulfilled as a human being. I don't have money. I have minus in my bank account. I have spent the past 10 years not really earning anything for myself. I see my small sisters, now they both have kids, they have houses, they have Teslas, they have all this shit. They are younger than me and I don't have anything. But I have got these adventures, and I feel that when I go to my grave, I gave more than I took. And I still hopefully have many years ahead of me still to make that imbalance even greater in a positive favor. So that's what I like to inspire, and I hope that others would like to want that feeling as well, and chase that in their own way, both for personal fulfillment but also for the better of the world.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? Like, it's not just about giving, but you receive something in return. You receive that fulfillment. You also live life in the true sense of the word, because you actually going in this adventure, you probably live in few years like any other normal person, let's say, live in a lifetime. Because every day for you, it's a new thing, new people that you met on the road, a new story to tell, a new lesson maybe, a new rock in the road, or something that can put you in a situation to say, yes, this day was amazing, this day made me happy, rather than probably like most of us, like me sitting probably behind the desk, working all day and so on, and at the end of the day feeling exhausted, going to sleep, and that day I feel that nothing important happened today. And I think this is something that people often miss, the fact that when you live life a bit differently like you do, not only you make an impact in other people's lives, but most importantly, you make an impact in your own life by changing the way a society is telling us, you should live that way or that way and so on. And that for me, it's super inspiring, because we live in that time in which people are probably the most depressed in human history, because you have access to everything at our fingertips, like ordering food, ordering anything else. And in reality, that only makes us less aware about living life to the fullest. And that's another thing that I admire about you and your journey. And you mentioned that you learned a lot of lessons as going through it. What's your biggest one?
First, if I may, I'd like to just comment on that observation that you have about people actually being depressed, even though they have everything at their fingertips. Yeah. I think that is a very, very good observation. And I don't see that in Africa. People who don't have anything, they find every reason they have to celebrate. And they seem generally more happy, even though they are, of course, you will have concerns if you live in extreme poverty. There must be concerns, because if you don't earn money that day, you will go hungry to bed. If you don't earn money tomorrow as well, you can maybe not pay medicine for your kid. This kind of concerns must be somehow depressing and traumatizing. But you don't feel that people go around and just focus on the negative things like they do in Denmark. I think the year I started walking from Denmark, we were rated the happiest country. But on the same year, we were rated the country where the biggest proportion of people are on antidepressive medicine.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know?
It's such a discrepancy,
we have everything, but that is what makes people maybe a bit, I don't know what to do with my life, because I have all opportunities open, and you tend to focus more on what the neighbor have that you don't, rather than actually appreciating the things you have. Now, answering your other question, my most important lessons, I think we have already talked about this feeling of being small, not being able to make a difference. I feel that doing this adventure has really taught me that there is nothing I feel I'm too small to embark on. Maybe I cannot do it all on my own, but I rarely feel that, no, this is something that there's no need even to get involved in this, because I'm too small to make a difference. That is probably my biggest lesson, really, and it has also dressed me up for future endeavors that I look forward to get engaged in. And walking through Africa, seeing so many other issues and opportunities has also really made me eager to get finished with this water mission, so I can really concentrate my time on some of the other issues. Because over the last 10 years, I have become aware of, for example, the climate crisis, the biodiversity crisis, things that I think most people were not really aware of 10 years ago. That's where it all started to slowly the SDGs were implemented in 2015, and it was first after that we had this Fridays for Future and all this climate movement. So this is things that I would really love to also spend some of my active years trying to make a difference in. And I feel that I have gotten a unique insight in the challenges and the possibilities in some of these vulnerable societies by living on the road, meeting people down on my feet. My journey walking this way, it gets me into also some quite unique circles that I will not get into as a regular tourist. People are interested in looking at that strange white guy who walks around with a trolley. What's wrong with him? We need to meet him, So I get presented to politicians, to famous people, to people who can influence stuff, but also to the village people who don't own anything. So I have a quite broad perspective, I will say, and I have also gained a broad network. So, for example, now I was yesterday here in Bali to an event at Mana Cafe. They had something called Heroes Night, where they chose 5 innovative initiatives from Asia who are all trying to solve some of these global problems. One of the initiatives is an app. It's a guy from India who had an application where he helps people get out of jail, because in India there are so many people who are put in jail for small offenses, but the legal system is not really big enough to handle all those cases. So sometimes you have people sitting in jail for 5 years for committing an offense that will maybe just give them 5 months if they were sentenced guilty. And that is the same problem we see in a country like Nigeria. Now he found a way to use AI to solve these cases quickly. This is something that I can help him implement maybe also in Nigeria, because I have the network there. I know there is a similar issue there. I visited some of these jails. I even been to jail in Nigeria. That's another story. But, this perspective I have gained and this network I have gained will give me a good opportunity to help solve some of these problems. Even if I don't have the technology myself, even if I don't have the money myself, I can maybe link the parts, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the huge difference between someone like me maybe sitting behind a screen searching or seeing on Google, on YouTube or whatever, and hearing about these stories, but you being there in the field and actually facing them head first, like your experience in Nigeria to being in prison. I want to hear that story. That's what makes the difference, because you have those unique insights that only those like you that are there in the trenches can see them, rather than just hearing about them and so on. But still, not everyone can do that. And if I'm listening to this conversation or watching us, what I can do in order to help you, either as sponsoring or being involved in any way I can.
Well, it's always possible to sponsor money to the Lovespring organization, and I will do my very best to make these money get out where they work and get them used as cost effectively as possible. For me personally, I think what you are doing now, making me get this outreach, I'm now figuring on your channel, maybe this will be seen and heard by some people who want to get either involved with Lovespring as an association, with my journey. I would love still to get more outreach, to maybe still make a documentary on the last part of the journey. Come on, I'm going to walk across Africa. I'm going to sleep in the bush. I'm going to raise money, and I already proved that I've been able to take it so far. So if somebody are interested in making a documentary series or something about that, please hit me up. I think there's a lot of potential there. I'm also planning to do a documentary series while I'm here in Bali. I'm expecting to be in Bali for the next 5 months or so, and I'm planning to do a documentary series here where I walk around Bali and visit 9 different NGOs and social initiatives who have solutions to different global problems. So we will meet someone who, for example, plant mangrove trees. We will meet someone who is making coral reefs flourish again. We will meet people who pick up plastic and recycle it, and different initiatives that can be inspiring to others. And now, as I said before, I know what the problems are in Africa. So if I can find examples of solutions here, it will be great to be able to amplify that, to show it, so other change makers, other places in the world can replicate those solutions. If someone wants to get involved in that, please look me up, and let's see how we can do that together. And then I'm generally active also in social businesses. I'm trying to earn money on the side, since this Love Spring is still volunteer for me. I don't get any salary from that. So currently, mainly I earn my own money on AI training, but I like to do it on something more impactful. So anyone who has social enterprises they think I can be used in, for example, by finding clients in Africa, making market analysis for the African market, etc. I'd be very interested to link up.
Yeah, and if you listen to this and resonate with anything that Charlie said, please check out the show notes below, because I'll put there all the details to get in touch with Charlie. And I would like to conclude with that story, because I feel when you went to jail in Nigeria, because I feel there is more there. But before we go there, I actually want to add something here with what you said, because solutions that already work in some other places, like you mentioned, here are different non-governmental organizations that are doing amazing work. And some of them, I know them myself as well. And what they do, and while they work here, they can absolutely work in other places. And why not replicate that? And that's usually the case when it comes to having an impact. Just take what already works in other geographical regions and bring that to your home country or to somewhere else. And it can be as simple as that. Of course, simple on paper, because you just need the means of doing it, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
And that's super important to know. And so, as I mentioned, to conclude that story, please let me know, how do you end up in jail and how do you get out of that?
Well, it was my own fault totally.
Okay.
When I came to Nigeria, I was broke. I had been on the road for 3.5 years without being home, and as I said, I thought the whole journey would take me 2.5 years. So I had ran out of money. My credit in the bank were maxed out, and I knew that if I want to finish this journey without going home, then I have to make some business here. And before I came to Nigeria, I was like anti-business. I saw myself more like a kind of some sort of monk or something, that I cannot earn any money, that will ruin my reputation as someone who wants to do good. But what I learned when I came to Nigeria, out of necessity, because I had to get into business to be able to continue my journey, then I met a business mentor, an Indian guy who had a aluminium recycling factory there, and I started becoming his sort of right hand. And what I thought he wanted to go and be a monk, actually. He liked to meditate, and he just wanted to get this business running on autopilot, go home to India and become a monk to meditate his whole life. And I told him, if you do that, you live your life only for yourself, for your own pleasure of meditating. But you have the opportunity to change so many lives if you make this business in a social way, that you actually donate some of your profit, effective altruism, so to say. You can change so many lives, you can have such a big impact. And that actually hit him, so he changed his ways after that. And then he taught me also to make business, because I realized I can change much more if I get into business. Now I tried for 3.5 years to see what can I do of good things from just asking for donations. It's not a lot. At least I was not able to make a lot that way. I will be able maybe to make more if I make a business someone can earn money on. Then it will be easier to get investment than donations. So to do social, environmental, responsible business, that became sort of a new thing I wanted to get into. And I did that in Nigeria. I actually started a food processing plant there with this Indian mentor. We found an investor. I had this idea of mixing chia seeds into gari. Gari is made from cassava, something they eat a lot in Nigeria, but it's very low on nutrition. It's just carbohydrates. So the idea was to make it more nutritious, this stable food, by mixing chia seeds into it. I got an investor on the idea. We bought machinery. We hired 30 people to start working on the factory. But long story short, it didn't work out very well. We could not compete with the price on the market, and it just went sour. And at that point, I had already spent more time than my visa allowed me. And I just thought, yeah, when I get success with this, we will sort the visa stuff. But suddenly, I had been in the country for the most of a year, and I only had a 3-month visa. And I didn't have any money to solve that problem because I didn't earn anything. I just spent my last reserves to try to make this work. So now I was legally in the country, and I knew that it's just a matter of time before someone will stop me and ask for my passport, and I'll be fucked. So what I tried to do, I met someone from the immigration who said they could help me with my problem. I just had to give them my passport and a little bit of money, and they will solve it. And I did that, and I did get my passport back with a stamp in it, but the stamp only lasted until the end of that month I was in. They tried to blackmail me. Oh, it costs more. Oh God, listen, it can not be so cheap, blah, 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 blah. But I didn't have more money to give. And when I get my passport back, there was just 1 month visa. So I thought, okay, now at least on the paper, I'm not illegally in the country anymore. So I went to the immigration headquarters and said, look, my visa runs out very soon. Can we maybe strike a deal? Because I'm on this journey. I'm trying to do good things. I had also started another NGO in Nigeria with this Nigerian host. And I thought maybe because I'm doing good things here, they will cut me some slack. But the guy at the immigration headquarters, he just pointed at my passport. He said, this visa is fake.
Oh my God.
And where's your entry visa? At that point, my entry visa was in another passport down in Lagos, and I was up in Abuja. So all of a sudden, it looked very strange. I came in there with my jalaba, this Moroccan dress. I had a long beard at the time, and I just had the only stamp I had in my new passport was a fake one, and I had this weird story about walking there and stuff. And they have, in Nigeria, they also have combat. The government forces are fighting Boko Haram, Islamic terrorist movement in the north. So they have problem with foreign fighters coming to fight for them. So of course they had to be very cautious. Who is this guy who has fake visa and long beard and look strange and have strange stories? So they just took the things that, like everything beside the clothes I was wearing, and they threw me in a cell.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I was there in a cell with 9 other guys. One of them, he had been there for half a year. He didn't know what was happening with his case. And every day I was asking, can I call my embassy? Can I call my family? Tomorrow.
Oh my God.
So, but
that must
then
be scary.
the first day was tense, because you don't know what to expect from the others. You don't know that when you fall asleep, if you will wake up with a pain in your ass, But luckily that didn't happen. So once I realized the other guys are okay, I was getting along with them fine, then I was not scared anymore because, I'm from Denmark. Again, it's very different than if I was from, for example, Cameroon, some of the people I was there with. I'm actually from a country who will try to help me get out.
And they did?
And they did. After 6 days, someone came and said, there is someone here to see you. And it was the ambassador, the Danish ambassador in Nigeria. He had heard about my case because I was dating a Nigerian girl, and she knew I was going to the immigration. So when I didn't come out again and she didn't see me for several days, she called my mom and told her that I think Charlie has been taken by immigration. So my mom called the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then the system starts rolling. So the ambassador, he came and he helped me solve my case. It turned out that I had on my Instagram a picture of my entry visa because it had been hard to get in Benin back then. So I had actually taken a picture with a big beer and this entry visa. So I could prove, and they could zoom in on this Instagram picture and say, oh, okay, you have an entry visa. Okay, so we believe you now. And they could also check my social media and stuff. I mean, I'm a public person, so it's easy to see that my story was actually true. But still, I had been illegally in the country for some time, so I was deported, and they just told me, my parents had to buy a plane ticket, and then they will drive me to the airport, put me on a plane, and then I was kicked out of the country. And nobody from Denmark expected to see me home for another couple of years, but suddenly I was home. My journey was interrupted, and on one time that was a failure, because I wanted really to finish in one stretch. But on the other hand, it was not my own choosing. I think I would have felt it as more of a failure if I had given up, if I had said, okay, I choose to go home. But here I didn't really have a choice. They kicked me out. So that's that story.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think that's a nice way to conclude this conversation, because not only shows the sacrifices that you put through in order to fulfill your mission, but the creativity to try to find means of surviving, means of making money, to continue your journey and your mission and so on, yes, can lead to this type of situations, but in the same time, as this situation proves, there are always a way out. And now obviously you know how to protect you even better in this type of situation, and you learn from this small mistake of extend your period of stay and so on. And Charlie, I'm deeply honored to got the chance to talk with you about this and to share your story to the world, and hopefully you inspire a lot of others to take a stance and make a small step towards helping and leaving this world better than they end up in.
Let's do that together.
Let's do it. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, Charlie.